Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And if we Bocchi, we just rock. Today we're talking about Bocchi the Rock, and if you want to be a member of the Bocchi gang, head on down to the comments to let us know what you think about the show, like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Castaway Anime and more videos in the future. I promise, one of these days, maybe.
If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get a Bocchi Gang t-shirt for free. Yeah, let's go. That's a real offer.
Send us your P.O. box, your address, your IP address, your social security number. It's all imperative and pertinent information for the shirts.
We're not dangerous criminals. It bears repeating, we are not dangerous criminals.
No, the only criminal in the show is probably Rio.
I guess that's a good place to start talking about the show itself. Wow, it got big. Wow.
Yeah, like, this is much like Licorice Recoil last season. This show has exploded in popularity since its premiere.
I'd say even more so than Licorice Recoil. Like, my friend who doesn't even watch that much anime knows what Bocchi is and is interested in watching it. Which is astonishing to me, because if you asked him what a Licorice Recoil is, he'd probably be like, what are you even talking about? Is that from Korea or some shit? It is huge. I have the Mal page right now. It is ranked... Hold on, is this the manga or the anime? Okay, the anime. It is ranked 28, and it has an 8.82 average score. Actually, what's Chainsaw Man at for comparison? Chainsaw Man's at an 8.83. How are they this neck and neck? That is shocking.
Well, speaking of Chainsaw Man... you're gonna have to hold me back for this one, Crunchy. Yeah, you gotta hold me back. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say. I don't care. No, you're gonna have to hold me back, Crunchy. I'm gonna say it.
I know.
It's better than Chainsaw Man.
I have a hot take for you.
It's this
Chainsaw Man's better.
This might be anime of the year. Oh, yeah. You like Chainsaw Man more?
That's my hot take.
Oh, goddamn. So. You don't think this is could be anime of the year?
Anime of the year. I prefer Spy Family. I prefer Call of the Night. I prefer Chainsaw Man. I'll probably prefer Urusei Yatsura, although I've been holding that off because I'm going to hopefully make a video on it. I was considering making a video on Bocchi, but upon watching it, I don't think I can, because most of what I have to say is I like its personality and the animation and the humor, and I feel like everyone's already said those things, so missed my chance. But yeah, it's good. This is not going to be me going negative on Bocchi in the slightest, because I think it's a great show. I like it. It'll probably be in my top 10 of the year. Well, almost certainly, actually. I don't know why I said probably. It's gonna be on there. But anime of the year... I wouldn't go that far.
Question: do you have eyes?
Maybe.
Well, we have never. We have only ever communicated through Discord audio, so
yeah. And I tend to keep it that way.
But yeah, no, you're fucking wrong. Like, at first I was gonna be like, okay, yeah, he has a big attachment to Spy X Family, and I guess like Chainsaw Man it's just a different kind of show altogether, so they're not really comparable. So if someone told me they preferred one over the other this season, I wouldn't hold it against them. Then you had to go and say shit like it's Call of the Night's better, and Urusei Yatsura is better.
In fairness,
my boy,
I have only seen 2 episodes of Urusei Yatsura, so that is subject to change. And maybe Bocchi could pull through in the end, introduce its own Anko Uguisu, and clear Call of the Night. But I don't know, man. Like I said in the Call of the Night cast,
they've already introduced their own Anko Uguisu. She's just not as good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say she's sort of an Anko Uguisu-esque figure, but... Yeah, to explain it, I guess, Call of the Night is like so my kind of thing that it's very hard for any show to be able to top it, because it's just so specifically what I enjoy in fiction. Plus, it's got great directing, which I literally uploaded a video on today. Bocchi, I mean, it also has great directing. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't even say it has that many issues. There are small things that I'll complain about for like literally 30 seconds a pop, but otherwise, like it's very well directed, very fun. I think it's just weaker in a few key aspects to my specific comparison will be to Chainsaw Man, because I feel like that's the most as weird as it is to say, most relevant example.
Literally, after I got done saying they
Yeah.
are two different
In
kinds of
this
shows and they are not
in
very
this
comparable.
specific thing I'm
We'll
going
do-
to
well,
compare.
Fuck it, we'll do it
Yeah.
anyway. All right. I'm gonna be dead ass. I have like no complaints. I cannot think of something that'd be like, ooh, yeah, this is an issue that's big enough to like keep it out of the 10 out of 10 range. Unless the show gets like super shitty in the last 5 episodes, which I cannot imagine
that just
it
makes
doing.
no sense.
This can walk away with a 10. Like I could see this clearing Dress Up Darling as my anime of the year.
I mean, judging from how positive you're on it already, yeah, I think it'll probably top Dress Up Darling for you. For me,
like I'm racking my brain. Like literally of these 7 episodes that we've watched, including the first one for the fall podcast way back when, the only episode that I don't have a bunch of notes on is the Kikuri episode, and that's just because the least amount of like things happen in that one, but it was still entertaining as fuck, and there was nothing wrong with it.
All right, hold on. Kikuri episode. What's that one?
Oh, Kikuri is the drunken bassist.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they said her name in the episode, but yeah, that is her name.
Okay, yeah, she's like the one person I don't have their name written down for, so that's probably the case. But yeah, I get why you're like that, because I guess I'll go with my first positive thing about the show. This show has a lot of personality, like a lot of it. And
It
it's
is
a very
drowning
specific
in personality.
It's like a very weird thing I noticed as I was watching the show is that there will be, for like brief moments, it'll feel like a almost traditional cute girls doing cute things show. And, those are the parts where you're like, oh, wait. Oh, I remember. This did come from Manga Time Kirara. It is in the same magazine as Comic Girls and Yu Yu Shiki. And then just, for like a minute, it'll be like that. And then it'll suddenly hard pivot into just depression, cynicism, sarcasm, and insanity. And you'll be like, oh yeah, it is a cute girls doing cute things show, but it's also Bocchi. And Bocchi is a different beast entirely.
She is just a delight. Like I have never before seen a character. I've never wanted to pat a character on the head while simultaneously shoving them inside a locker. Cause she's the most inept, like socially inept, socially anxious loser that you could possibly imagine. She's got no friends. She like thinks that if she can just do all of these cool things, like oh, if I just dress up with my guitar and all my like band merch, people are bound to come talk to me, and then I won't be lonely anymore. She reminds me a lot of Tomoko Kuroki from Watamote in her like in that they both have these plans to get super popular by putting the onus on everyone else instead of trying to like better themselves to try to like take steps towards being an extrovert rather than being an introvert. But whereas Tomoko has all of these schemes and her show is about them going wrong and comically in comedic fashion, Bocchi like every scheme that she thinks of is like or even like attempts to try to put into motion is almost immediately dashed. Like in Watamote, we'll spend entire episodes dedicated to Tomoko's get popular quick schemes and see how they crumble over time. Whereas like Boshi will just try to think of something like, all right, surely if I could just get my dog to fucking go to my concert and my little sister to this club, then all I'll have to do is just sell one ticket. It'll be a struggle, but I can know if I just put my all into everything, I can sell one ticket to a concert. And then her mom's like, "Oh yeah, you obviously you can't take the dog and your little sister to this nightclub,
This
so you have to sell 3 tickets, hun." And then she's like, the weight of the world is like crashing upon her shoulders. Like, well, that's it for me. I guess I'm out of the band.
this show loves to hard pivot into just a completely just everything going wrong. Like when Bochi, okay, so in episode 2, she basically Nishika and Ryo are telling her, "Yo, get a job here," and because she's too socially anxious to say no, she's like, "Sure." And so she goes into the bathtub, fills it with ice water, stays in there for 30 minutes, then sits in front of a fan and just gets as cold as possible, wanting a fever so desperately. And so, but it doesn't work out at first anyway.
I like I like that it's canon because we see it more than once outside of the bathtub thing where she like blood is coming out of her mouth. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's not blood, it's like just colored saliva or something, but we see green blood coming out of her mouth, like dripping out her mouth because she's just trying to get herself sick, and it happens in a later episode too. So I like to imagine that she's like such an introverted goblin creature that her blood is no longer red, or like she's just secluded herself from sunlight so much that she's
I
just like
feel
has
like
green blood. I don't know if that's what the
kinda
intention was,
doubt.
but if it is,
I
I
think
believe
you're
it.
reading into it a little too much, but you know what? That's funny enough that fair interpretation. But anyway,
Her body does like literally melt and turn to ash, obviously not diegetically,
we'll
but
get to that scene.
it so it's not out of the her body is essentially Play-Doh, so it's not out of the realm of plausibility.
But anyway, Bochi, she tries to make herself sick. It doesn't work out. So she ends up working and, she's given drinks to customers hiding. At first, she literally puts up a sign saying they're closed.
I love how she's
And
she's
so,
so utterly terrified of getting a job that she hands over her piggy bank to Nijika, being like, "This is the money that my mom's been saving up for my wedding. Please take it. I'll just don't make me work. Don't put me in front of customers. I will sacrifice
and
my
when
future if it means I don't have to look people in the eye. I am begging you, Nijika. Please don't make me do it."
and then when Nijika and Ryo tell her to, oh, or I think it's just Nijika in this scene, but
Yeah,
she's like,
Rio's
"Yo,
just like, "Oh
we're gonna
yeah,
have
well,
to."
thanks for the contribution," and like they just go, "No, we're not taking your fucking money."
But Nishika is, it's a later scene. She's saying like, "Oh, we're gonna need a summer job to help pay for things," and Bochi is literally willing to sell her organs in order to avoid having to get a second job because one's enough.
Like
But
like the black market is a more reasonable alternative to her than getting a second job over the summer. That's it says so much about her as this how much of a beta female bitch boy that she is. Like she can't even say no to when Nijika and Rio offer or to work together, even though like she explicitly does not want to, and her solution is making herself through ice baths and self-inflicted like physical pain. She'd be willing to torture herself because the physical pain of an ice bath is more ideal to her than having to stand in front of customers for hours.
yeah, going back to what I was trying to say, after many deviations, she at the end starts to get kind of hopeful about the job. And if you watch enough Bocchi, you realize that whenever things start to get hopeful, you can prepare for the inevitable punctuation to that scene, being that the second Bocchi starts to kind of like having a job, she gets a fever. It was just belated.
And it's funny every time. Every time things are just like slightly going right for Bocchi, God throws a stone at her.
Yeah, like whenever she's, oh, we're gonna perform, yay! Oh wait, I have to sell tickets. Oh no!
Oh, we passed the audition. We can finally perform. Oh, look at that! A typhoon is blowing through Kanto, unexpectedly.
Yeah,
Gosh darn.
what I connected to even more than Bocchi's social anxiety is her deep-rooted cynicism towards everything. She's so sarcastic, so cynical. There's so many great lines. Like at the beginning of episode 3, she literally says, "Even skipping school for one day puts me at risk of being forgotten."
Yeah,
Or like,
I love all of these peeks into her insight about how it honestly would be preferable to me in like the long run if I just didn't go to, you would think that it would be preferable that I just didn't go to school, but if I like didn't go to school for a day, I would just like I feel like I would like disappear from everyone's view. Like no one would perceive me anymore. So even just their out of the corner of their eye, like their side view perception is enough to like keep me on this mortal coil, so I will go to school even though seclude myself on purpose.
yeah, there are multiple scenes in the show where Bocchi will just like hide in a pipe or a box and just hate herself incessantly, like muttering to herself all the various things that are going wrong or how just everything about her situation sucks. And I love how the other characters just sort of get used to it, like, yeah, okay, Bocchi's doing that thing. Makes sense.
Bocchi's saying weird things again.
Yeah, Bocchi is, I'd say, the main thing that really carries this show on a script level, where her character is.
Well, I love the entire main cast. I don't think there's a weak link among them.
But Bocchi is, I'd say, the main character.
I was just gonna say,
who at least I enjoy, and I'd say is definitely the best character in the show.
Yeah, the main cast. Yeah, like I mean, we'll have plenty of time to talk about fucking Bocchi. Well, we can talk about the other gals. Yeah, I love them all.
I have no feelings for Nishika.
You don't like Nishika?
She's just kind of an enthusiastic girl. I don't really care for her much one way or the other.
I love that she has the biggest dream out of the four, because like she's what's great about Nijika is that she is the glue that holds everyone together. Like she's excuse me, always the one who is able to take charge of the situation, because Bocchi is just physically incapable of doing so. Kita is incredibly extroverted and a bubbly ray of sunshine, but she's more of a follower than a leader, and also helped by that she is not really good at playing guitar, but she can sing, so that she fills her role there. And Rio, I feel like if she were to be the leader, she would just bring about the apocalypse with her chaotic neutral energy.
The apocalypse.
Yeah, so if not for the band, then for all of Japan. So it's best that she does not be the leader, and Nijika remains so. I love how the teasing relationship that she has between her and Rio, because they're like the two people who were friends before the band. We were friends at the start of the band, and then Bocchi and Kita came in. I love how my favorite scene between Nijika and Rio. I always love how Nijika is the one who is like teased by Rio the most, and or like has to put up with Rio's shenanigans the most. And my favorite bit between them is well, what if we just had a shot of all of us holding our instruments? And Nijika's like, well, yeah, you guys will look all cool with your guitars and your basses, but I'll just be holding my drumsticks. And then I forget exactly what Rio said to her. I know it was of a teasing variety. And then they just chase.
Rio said I think she said she'd look cute like that, just holding up two drumsticks.
And then like yeah, there was some kind of like jab at her in whatever she said. And then Nijika is just chasing Rio around in a circle. Well, like Nijika's like waving her sticks in the air like aggressively, while Rio's just like her arms are slack and like they're running with the like the Roadrunner figure eight circles, all to a drum beat sound effect because the show is made by geniuses.
Yeah, that gag was incredibly well paced.
Every
My
gag is
perspective
incredibly
on
well paced.
Nijika-
This is some of the
Well,
funniest
yeah,
shit.
But that one, but that one in particular, I thought was just so well paced, even in a show with generally great paced jokes.
This is one of the funniest shows, funniest anime to have come out this year and in the past few years. Like, this is kind of up there with Konosuba and Kaguya for me.
I mean, I think Kaguya clears it in terms of comedy.
I think Kaguya
mostly because I'm super into absurdist stuff, which, to be fair, the show does have some of that.
Bocchi is nothing but absurdism.
But I feel like Kaguya's
I will agree.
The way Kaguya portrays it just gels better with me. Not to say Bocchi is unfunny though, because it is funny.
I will say Kaguya is funnier because the difference between Kaguya and Bocchi is that Kaguya has less jokes per minute than Bocchi, but there's more build up. And there's like not just within the episode, there are like seasons wide build-ups for some jokes that like will turn a joke on its head, like how like in season 3, for instance, the most recent season from this year. One of my favorite jokes from that season is Chika's little sister, I believe, sees Shirogane and like is like becoming infatuated with him, and Chika's like, no, you can't, because if you do, you're gonna fall down the trap. And then in order to get her to like lose her belief in Shirogane's hype, she tries to get Shirogane to do all these somewhat complicated tasks, these unusual tasks like juggling, and being like, all right, yeah, I'll show you just how worthless Shirogane really is, because I've been through it, and we've seen how she's like been put through the ringer by Shirogane throughout the entire series and multiple seasons. And then he just like juggles perfectly, and then does all of these like seemingly mundane, useless tasks perfectly, and impresses the Chica's sister even more, all while Chica is like slowly like feeling betrayed. Like, why could you do all these things perfectly, but you couldn't do, like, you couldn't sing, you couldn't dance, you couldn't do volleyball? What the fuck?
That sounds hilarious.
Like, that's a good payoff.
But
did you not watch season 3?
No, I have not. I need to. I have the uncanny habit of putting off things I know I love.
Yeah, that's an amazing joke. Bocchi has more jokes per minute, and occasionally you'll get like some big hoots and hollers, like in episode 1 for the cutting the show off and early and playing the ED, and then crediting Bocchi as
that
sub
made
water
me cackle
flea
for like a minute straight.
That I am sad to say that the show has not reached that level yet. Again, in the show's
I definitely
episodes,
agree with that, but it's still funny.
But it's still, yeah, where it falters in big laugh out loud moments, it more than makes up for without even a shadow of a doubt, the best art and animation direction of the year. It's not even a contest.
I mean, I can see some people being like, "Yo, I prefer Chainsaw Man's very grounded, gritty approach to material."
If you want to talk,
people,
if you want to talk like technically speaking, like, yeah, maybe it's the
I mean, I
conventional
can
versus
also
the
see people
unconventional.
preferring like
Because
Edge
like yeah,
Runners directing or even Call of the Knights to a certain extent. Although I'd personally put Bocchi's directing above Call of the Knights.
yeah, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, on a technical level, I think Chainsaw Man and Cyberpunk's animation is better than Bocchi's," I'd be like, "Okay, fine." But like, if we're talking like creativity, if we're talking like who used their art direction and their animation to like the maximum effect for like the biggest possible reaction, I think it's Bocchi without a doubt.
The main thing I like about Bocchi's direction, aside from it just being creative, is that it uses its direction to heighten the series' personality. Where, like, it's always used at just the right time. It feels completely in place, and it feels completely in line with the show's general tone, and elevates it. Uh, and it makes it feel just like this super out of the box, wacky, sarcastic show. One of my favorite.
It's not just enough for Bocchi to be like, oh man, the stress of having to run my own Instagram account and then
I
like
knew
farm
what
social
scene you
media
would bring up.
interaction. It yeah, it's not just enough to her to like to waddle in her own self-pity and just like cradle in the fetal position. No, she has to go fucking cyber psycho while her voice actor delivers a unedited, mind you. Yeah, they put like static over it, but like the sound that she make, the inhuman anime girl sound is 100%
I have
genuine,
seen that.
and goddamn is it incredible.
That is probably the most
And
raw
that's what I'm
scream I have
talking
heard in
about.
anime all year. And it's Bocchi reacting to having to run a social media account. And then it goes from that to switching to Bocchi cosplaying as the attention
Bochzilla.
whore monster. Just running around town.
Like my post. Oh,
Yeah.
and breathes fire on
And
all
then
of
it cuts to
Japan.
this shot of Bocchi, like, sitting down, gazing at the cityscape and the horizon with the sky red and the city dark gray, just almost sad. And then, and yeah,
All while her friends are calling out to her, being like, "We won't make you join social media anymore. Just come back to us." And she snaps back to reality. And this is a regular thing that happens in this show. And the characters are now becoming aware of it. Like, yep, Bocchi's going into Bocchi time again.
yeah. I feel like the note I showed you to this in the host chat, but I just want to say it again here. The note I put that I think encapsulates this show the best is at the beginning of episode 6, when my very first note was, "We're not even 5 minutes into the episode, and Bocchi's already having a stroke with NES graphics."
Yeah, she's like going into fucking like pixel dot matrix panic attacks, just being like just repeating mom, dad, mom, dad, mom, dad, mom,
Yeah,
dad.
they just start multiplying across the screen. Uh, I feel like one of my favorites, if not my absolute favorite cut, is when it switches to the studio they're in. It turns completely CG. We've got this real life hand at the bottom of the screen,
And
just
it's
counting
not just
down.
CG, it's fucking like VR.
Yeah, it's like intentionally VR chat tier CG. And Boji just keeps on counting down, like mom, dad, sister, dog, mom, dad, sister, dog, just over and over
Wait a
again.
second. Those numbers add up to 4. They don't add up to 5.
Yeah, just hoping over and over that if she just keeps on counting, somehow it will equal 5 one of the times, but it never does. And that's the nightmare of Bochi's life.
This the show is made by geniuses. Like they just to flex their creativity over the entire anime industry, they went and made a VR replica of the club setting and just filmed and all they did was film a human hand over it and then hyper hyperimpose, that's the word I'm looking for. Hyperimpose like the characters of the mom, dad, sister, and dog over it, all while the colors are going ape shit. And that's so much more visually striking than like your basic bitch ass moving manga type show. Because this is, if we're talking adaptations, this is one of the greatest anime adaptations of all time.
I absolutely agree. Although I do want to read the manga still, just to know what did the original manga look like. Because
This is a 4 coma, by the
yeah,
way.
and I've I'm not actually sure of the source on this, but I have heard that apparently the people making the anime were huge fans of the manga, and that's why the adaptation turned out like this. That just makes me wonder how much of this crazy style was in the manga, because I assume at least some of it is still there.
I'd imagine whatever there was, like, I wouldn't doubt that it got like surreal and like maybe some of Bocchi's like inner hallucinations about like, the attention whore monster and like being burned at the stake for not wanting to participate in a sports festival probably exists in the manga, but the way they're presented and expounded upon visually by the medium of animation, like, just it's one of those, this is gonna be one of those shows where you're like, yeah, I'm sure the manga's good, but the anime is the superior method of consuming Bocchi the Rock.
For sure, at least that from what I imagine.
I
Even
I sh- I have no doubt that the manga's great, but like, the unless the manga starts unless I open up those pages and fucking Boshi's going glitching out of existence with a scream, it's just not going to be the same.
even the small bits of animation have their charm. Like in episode 5, weirdly enough, one of the bits of animation that made me laugh the hardest was at the beginning of episode 5 when Ryo starts scratching uh Bocchi's chin and cheeks.
And you see the animation on her fingers.
It's not that actually. It's Kita immediately sees this, and so it cuts to her literally scrolling across the screen multiple times in order to catch up to Ryo, in order to beg for her attention too.
It's just the best.
I love how the faces are like very squiggly very frequently. Like Bocchi's face just gets so squiggly and melted and destroyed depending on what horrible emotion she is feeling. You know, for a happy for a decently
it perfectly represents what she's feeling.
Yeah, for a decently fun, lighthearted show, this show is really good at portraying Bocchi's misery.
It's definitely like portrayed to a comical extent because this is a comedy, but it's also, it can cut deep. There are a lot of this, when this show wants to like cut to the heart of the matter, there's some like good lines. In episode 2, one of the first things that jumped out to me was like when she tries to connect with Ryo, being like, oh, Ryo's kind of quiet, she's kind of lonely like me. And then she's just like, wait a second, Ryo is nothing like me. Someone with social anxiety could never enter a clothing store on their own. She's a loner. I'm just lonely.
And I love the animation of like this gorge opening up, just separating them.
the gap between them is too wide for her to
great
traverse.
Lines of dialogue, I'm gonna pivot away from the comedic lines for a bit and talk about what I'd say is the second, or at least my second favorite character in the show, Ryo. Now, Ryo, the way I see her is she's sort of like Mai from Nichijou, but less of a troll. Which, to be fair, Mai from Nichijou is amazing, so even being slightly less of a troll still puts Ryo as like a super chill, fun personality. But what
she reminds me of the kind of character like uh the kind of character that Trigger would make to be like their meme character of the show. She reminded me most of Susie from Little Witch Academia.
Like what made me connect with Ryo very unexpectedly is in episode 4, right? So a bit of context here. Bocchi she's basically been tasked with writing the lyrics to the first song that the band is going to play. And Bocchi is freaking out over it because she's literally the first song she turns to is a voodoo doll curse. And she just looks at it like, what the fuck? Yeah, she's like looking over the old lyrics she wrote in middle school, and she's like, "Oh, these are too depressing." So she decides to write like this very generic poppy. Everything will be okay. You just need to believe in yourself and try. Uh, and she hates it. She's like, "Oh, this is exactly what activates my Seishun complex. But I need, because Kita's singing it. It needs to be very Seishun." But she's looking over the lyrics and she's like, "You know what? I'm scared of letting everyone see this. I should let just one person see this first of all." And so she decides to ask Ryo. And so she goes to the cafe, the Law Chick Cafe, and uh basically talks to Ryo.
She walks in. My subtitles say, "Are you winning, diners?"
Yeah, trying to be trendy and cool because it's like a fancy cafe, and she doesn't know how to act. But anyway, she goes up to Ryo. She's like, "Yo, look at my lyrics." And Ryo's like, I see." And then she turns to Bocchi and she's like, "Are you satisfied with these lyrics?" Uh, and after a while, the conversation sort of turns to Ryo, talk about why she quit her old band. She was like, "Yo, they used to write these lyrics from the heart, but they switched to being commercial to get more sales because they were struggling, and that's what caused me to quit the band because I don't want to perform generic schlock." And I literally made this my Discord status. Yeah, Ryo literally says, "Abandoning your uniqueness is equivalent to dying." And that's basically my.
Such a good
It's like
line.
the show took my perspective on art and just put it into Ryo's character. Because literally everything she says is something I would say verbatim. Like Ryo, another line that connected
It
with me unexpectedly was Ryo saying, "Bringing a wide variety of individuals into one distinct sound. That will be Kasoku Band's brand." And that resonated with me in an odd way because for my Tomazaki video, I had a bunch of other editors, and I intentionally didn't give them any instructions and just let them edit however they wanted, because I was like, I don't care if it's not like stylistically cohesive or whatever. I just think it's better if everyone does their own thing. And Ryo's literally saying that in the quote verbatim. Like another line, "It might not connect with too many people, but those it does, it'll hit deeply." I've said that to myself.
that's the one that got me. Yeah, that's the one that I've like been parroting like to myself for the longest time. I'm a big believer in like, yeah, you would be more successful if you hit the lowest common denominator, but what's worth more to you as an individual? Casting the widest, broadest net possible, and like grabbing in all of like just as many like faceless of the individual masses as possible, or or do you take the time to craft a specific thing that targets a specific niche that appeals to a smaller group of people, but that smaller group of people are going to might stick around. They're more willing to connect with this thing because it feels like it's been made for them. And that's the kind of like content that I'd want to make. That's the kind of art that I'd want to make, and that's the kind of art I wish other people would make. And that's why some of my favorite like content creators that is it feel are the ones where I feel like, oh, they didn't make this to like to follow the zeitgeist, to follow the what's popular, what's trendy. They did this because they wanted to, and they think that, and they liked it, and they think other people will like it.
Yeah, it's pretty much my entire philosophy behind everything I make. Pretty much everything I make. And
the the line, the abandoning your uniqueness line, it reminded me almost word for word for one of my favorite comedians. He's a bit of a hot topic nowadays, of a hot button topic to talk about, but I think he's still the goat. Dave Chappelle, he had a short in 2020, and one of the take home lines that like has been that stuck with me since then, since I've heard it was, taking a man's livelihood is akin to killing him. And that's just abandoning your uniqueness is equivalent to dying almost word for word, just arranged differently.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. And that is the main thing that made Rio probably my second favorite character in the show. I definitely want to see more from her and hear more about her old band. You know, what I really want from Rio is just for her and Bocchi to sit down and have a 10-minute conversation about art and their thoughts on it. That would be goated. It won't happen because that would only happen in something like Monogatari. But I want it, and I know it would be Kino.
Speaking of Kino, this show is gay.
Yeah, Kita wants Rio to step on her.
explicitly yeah, explicitly, and she makes it clear in no uncertain terms that she has fallen in love with Rio, and then like that's just one more aspect to add it to the that's why he's the goat.
Yeah, there's Yuri in it. I know a certain two people who really liked that aspect of the show. You're listening to them right now.
Yeah, like I mean, it's barely any like. There's no progress made on it. Like the funniest thing to come out of it is this one scene where, uh, it's revealed that Kita's got calluses on her fingers from practicing the bass so hard. No, the guitar, and there's this one moment where she cuts herself from practicing on the strings, and then Rio takes her hand at some point in the future and be like, hey look, your callus is starting to heal, and then she starts shredding on the guitar and like screaming in both like pain and ecstasy from Rio holding her hand just so she can develop more cuts and calluses so Rio can hold her hand more, and and just like going like Gah! While she's fucking shredded, like actually wounding herself.
You heard it here, folks. Bocchi features self-harm.
I mean, episode 2 literally opens with Bocchi torturing herself in an ice bath. Like that shit's gotta hurt.
Yeah, as someone who had to take showers with cold water because we ran out of hot water for like a week straight. Yeah, Bocchi is suffering. But I guess I'll use it to transition to this. What do you think about Kita?
I think she is a pleasant ray of sunshine. And she is also I love how she is like the one who goes out of her way to try to befriend Bocchi the most. Like Nijika is the one who recruited Bocchi to the band, but it feels like Kita, because she's the only person that goes to the same school as Bocchi, and she's the one who Bocchi tried to reach out to her to recruit her to the band, which turned out to be the same band that she left. But she gets so awe-inspired by Bocchi's guitar playing that she is able to be like, wow, you must be like so cool, and she gets this image of Bocchi in her head that every time she assumes that like she's doing something, she's doing it for like for a selfless reason, being like, I'm trying to think of like one specific example.
Trying to think, because there's one scene where Bocchi lies and says, I think she joins, or no, she got into music to do to work towards world peace, and Nishika buys it. Yeah! Or not Nishika, Akita buys it completely. Where the actual reason Bocchi says in her head is,
I just wanted to be popular.
Like it's so impure. And then Kita literally says after, he's like, oh, it's so cool you want to, do world peace. My reason is so impure. I just did it to get with Rio.
I love how she is also responsible for one of the other best comedy moments, the one that did get me to laugh out loud. At the end of, I believe it's episode 3, where she rejoins the band, and she's been like, yeah, I've been trying to learn guitar even after I had even after I left. But man, this guitar it plays like the wrong. It feels like it plays the wrong tune. It just makes like a low ba-dum sound, and they're like, "Wait, are you playing the guitar or the bass?" And she's like, "Oh, come on. Even I know I'm a novice, but even I know that basses have 4 strings. See, my guitar has 6 strings." And they're like, Bocchi's just like, "There are 6 string basses, you know." And they just like they turn to each other with several head turns, and then they finally punctuate with a. And just as Kita just starts like shaking out of embarrassment.
Oh, and I love the scene after
Like
where
the
Rio buys the guitar and then starts actually eating weeds because she's run out of money for food.
yeah. At first, she's just like, "This is the last. That was the last of my cash. I will be eating weeds for weeks." And they're like, "Oh, that Rio is such a joker." At the very end of the episode, comes in through the door, just puts an entire branch in her mouth, eats all the weeds off of it, be like, "All right, let's begin." Rio's a fucking
And the
different
thing
breed.
is, it's impossible to tell how much she is joking. Nobody knows. None of the characters.
She's a
Yeah, she just
pathological liar.
constantly lies. And so she could actually be so poor that she's eating weeds, or she could just be doing it to mess with them. No way to find out.
Yes, there are times where like it feels like Nijika says that she comes from money and her family's really wealthy. She just blows through all of her money on music and instruments so often that she leaves herself broke for the month. So she's just like she fucking invites Bocchi out to the diner to talk about the lyrics, and then even though she's the one who invited her, she's just like, "Hey, I don't have any more money because I bought off that base. Could you pay for my food? I promise I'll pay you back next
She has to like
month."
guilt trip Bocchi into paying for it.
And I feel like she knows she can because like Bocchi's like incapable of saying no.
But back to Kita, I think she is probably the best, second to Bocchi, obviously, but out of the remaining cast, best written of the show because she gets an entire episode dedicated to, getting her into the band and building up her character. And that did a lot for me. I like when shows basically take an entire episode and dedicate it to each character of the cast instead of just them already sort of being in it, because it's the most immediate way to get the audience interested in a character and wanting to see more of them. And the introduction of Kita scratched that itch for me. Kita, uh, I love. Okay, so when Bocchi was, playing her woeful song on the guitar after failing to
Which,
ask
which,
Kita to
by the
join
way,
band.
happens more than once. I love that it's just a thing that Bocchi does. She'll
Yeah.
pull a guitar out of like literally nowhere. Like she'll be in the trash can, and then she'll pull the guitar out of the trash can that she could not have possibly brought in with her, and being like, and now the Bocchi presents the elegy of this fucking bitch ass person getting replaced by the extrovert.
But
and then just actually sings.
when she's playing the woeful guitar song, I got the sneaking suspicion like Kita's gonna be listening in. What I didn't suspect is the way she'd be portrayed as listening in, as literally just the camera pans over and she's just behind her.
Yeah,
Just the
you think she'd just like
time.
be on the stairs and she'd be like, "What is that heavenly melody?" No, she's just like already
She
knelt down,
literally-
hands on her cheeks, be like, "God damn, that was some strumming, Boach."
Just literally teleports like an Enderman behind her, which I loved. And yeah, I'd say, although Rio is the character that probably connected with me most out of the entire cast, I'd say Kita is the one second to Bocchi who is the best written. And I guess I'll go back to Nijika because I never really did finish explaining her. I like that she has a Dorito chip on her head. And otherwise,
yeah, she is. She does have the banana Dorito hair.
And her big thing, right? So every character has their personality and then a bit of depth on top of that. And Nijika's thing, aside from being energetic, is that, well, okay, so her first dream is that she wants to get to, I have it written down, but I don't have it.
The Budokan?
Budokan, yeah, she wants to perform at Budokan, but she also has a second secret dream that has yet to be revealed. And the show starts, cocking that Chekhov's gun for the inevitability of, I think it's after Bocchi writes the lyrics, Nijika's, whispers to herself, my dream might come true. And, we get the sense that it's probably her secret dream. Then later, she tells Bocchi next to the vending machines, like, oh yeah, I want to go to Budokan, but I also have this other dream. I have a feeling it's just, making friends and becoming like a really close-knit band, but we have yet to see.
What if it's just some like really fucking uber depressing shit? Like, yeah, I have like stage 3 cancer, and I'm not gonna make it past like the end of the year.
There aren't enough death flags for that, Neon. Come on.
Yeah, I wanted to play in a band. I just wanted to play in a band before my time on this earth is up. Doctor says there's no cure.
I hope it's just something really stupid.
Nijika has
completely subvert the entire. Like, I think it's gonna be something super serious and heartfelt, and there's just something completely ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, I wanted to go on tour to this specific location to like buy this candy that only exists in this area. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I've always heard. Yeah, I just like the Budokan's great and all, but I really want us to go on an international tour because there's this place called In-N-Out Burger, and I've heard it's the tits, but I'm like, there's no way it's as good as everyone says it is, and I gotta know.
I hope that's her dream. That would be, God, that'd elevate her to like my second favorite character in the show on principle alone. But yeah, Nijika, she's not a bad character, but I have yet to really get attached to her.
She's got the least development. I am sold on all 4 of them. I love their dynamic. They bounce off of each other effortlessly.
This is where I was going to compare it to Chainsaw Man, because by comparison, I think Chainsaw Man has like an overall stronger cast of characters. Where, even though I didn't like, what's his name? Aki, yeah. Even though I didn't like him, all the other characters, I was like even more immediately attached to them than in this show, oddly enough. Where Denji, Power, Makima, just immediate Kino, I was willing to go through all of their misadventures. Even Himeno is getting pretty well set up, even if she doesn't have a whole lot going on. She still got her relationship with Aki, and Kobeni. I'm sure you were like this for Bocchi, but for me, I don't think there's any character that I immediately loved as much as Kobeni, or at least in terms of like the immediacy of it. Because Kobeni, I saw her say one thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I love her.
All she did was say yes, and like, oh nope, I gotta protect her now.
Yep, that's exactly how it went for me. Yep. But I don't think there's any moment quite like that in Bocchi the Rock, and I think that is the main thing. Because to me, I think I've been quoted as saying that like the cast of a show is pretty much like 60% of it for me, maybe even 70%. I just want to get attached to those characters. And I think that's the main thing that puts shows like Call of the Night and Chainsaw Man ahead of it for me. Because I'm really attached to Bocchi as a character. Ryo, I resonate with her thoughts on art, but I'm not quite invested in her in the same way as it would be in like Power or even Makima to a certain extent. I think Makima has a more interesting place in the narrative in Chainsaw Man. And I guess it's just mainly that, where it's like, the characters, I like them, they're not the best. Except for Bocchi. She's the best.
She's the Boch.
Honestly, that could be a phrase just anytime, instead of saying that character's the goat, say that character's the Boch.
I gotta give a shout out, I want to make sure that I get his name down because this guy is doing God's work. His name is we'll just call him GB-kun. He's the guy who does green screens of all of like the best animation cuts from Bocchi and other anime. and the one that he did particularly of Bocchi being like, "Put yourself in the mind of an extrovert. You're the kind. You're a party animal. Let's get some vibes up in here. Tequila shots in the house."
バイブス上げてこう俺さんテキーラスイ
has that green screened, and I'm making this a point now. If we ever get like a custom intro for the podcast, and instead of just using the Mario Party Yoshi's Island board music, that voice line is going to be a part of the intro.
I would not object to it whatsoever.
There's literally so many of my notes of this show are just like me quoting my favorite
That
lines
is
or favorite like cuts of
exactly
animation.
how my notes were for the most part. Just a bunch of quotes.
You,
Obviously we can't go through all
you
of
want
them, but
I was literally about to say, because like this won't make for the most cohesive like part of the podcast. Do you want to just take like 5 minutes to gush, just like list our favorite quotes and gush before we get back to just talking about like the show as a whole?
I actually went through quite a few of them already. I'm looking.
I've still got a few. Like Bocchi's just like, I love songs about how bleak high school life is, but then when I find out that these bands were popular in their school, they feel like strangers to me.
Yeah, I definitely loved that one, and I loved the backstory behind Seishun Complex. I have written down, I can't write any lyrics, yet I've perfected my signature.
Yeah, she spends all that time trying to like write lyrics, and then we see her writing in the book, but we don't see exactly what she's written, and she's like, "Well, I can't think of any lyrics,
Right.
but damn, is my
Also,
penmanship the tits."
Another quote I have down: any anime where they jump in the OP is a god tier anime.
Facts. The true
Do
find
they
the
jump
lie.
in
There
the-
is
Oh, they do jump in the OP because of the picture.
yeah. Well, I suppose that is a good enough transition. We'll get back to the quotes later, but the good enough transition. The opening is godlike.
Okay, my thoughts on the OP. I feel like you're going to be surprised by this. Beats out Chainsaw Man's OP, unironically. I like Seishun Complex more. It is not only
The more I
visually
watch
amazing, but also
the more I watch it, I'm like, ooh, it's I don't know anymore. I was like, before I was like, so like Urusei Yatsura, pissant shit. It's Chainsaw Man, it's Kenshi Inozu, it's Kickback all the way. But the more that I've like watched the Seishun Complex, I'm just like, this is like really fucking good. This is like the kind of anime opening I'd want to make if I could.
My experience with Seishun Complex is that at first it was just a catchy OP that I really liked, and now I can't go outside for a walk without it looping in my head. I still think Urusei Yatsura clears, because I just love everything about that opening so much. But Bocchi OP, Seishun Complex, second best of the season easily. Kickback, I can't believe I'm saying this, because in any other season, Kickback would be opening of the season. It's getting kicked back to third place.
I can't believe it. Like, the more I think about, like, so many fucking like perfect things about the Bocchi opening. I love how in the opening few shots with the as it synced up to the verses, all of the characters are like posed in front of their close-ups of their faces posed with their instruments, while just like pictures of the real life streets are going by. I love the ones in particular of Nijika, like the top half of her face, just like from the eyes up, she's just staring up at her drums, and then the other one of Kita, just like open mouth, the right side of her face, just like a dopey happy expression with the her guitar in front of her. I don't know why, I just love them so.
My, I think, favorite piece of imagery from the opening is the shot of the swing set with Bocchi on one end and her guitar on the other end, except the guitar has literally broken the swing set. It's A, visual symbolism, and B, just looks cool.
Yeah, I love all the callbacks to all of the different Bocchi-isms that would occur in the show. Like we do see Bocchizilla. I love how they interact with the credits, like the text themselves. That's always a plus. I think my favorite shot of the opening, though, and this is saying a lot because this whole opening is full of incredible shots, because like there's the one of Kikuri who has like her opens her eyes with the swirls and then like covers her face with her hands with the painted black nails as she stands above like a thing of alcohol
Dude,
that Bocchi falls into.
that shot literally makes Kikuri look like some sort of supervillain, honestly. She looks way more intense in that shot than
She does in the show
anything,
proper.
yeah, anything in the show.
But I think my favorite one has to be where it's right before they do the awesome thing where within the opening they have the title card of the episode that plays in the shot of Bocchi walking away, which is really fucking cool. That but my favorite shot is the one that happens just before that one, where it's people are passing her by in the hallway of the school, and she turns her head and she has this look on her face that I can only describe as like isolated determination. How it's just like you see this look in her eyes where she's staring intently, be out of with this side view where she's just like, you know what she wants. You know she wants to be popular. She wants to be noticed, but she's like determined as much as she can to make it possible. But it's all she could do just to walk away and just be like, one day it'll be my time. Because she never does anything to reach out. All she does, she turns her head. The camera like cuts to a zoom in on her face. We don't even see her mouth. We just see her eyes. And just like as all while this like really fucking triumphant guitar riff kicks in, just like all like it's so like perfectly encapsulates this feeling of the isolated determination. Just before the camera like cuts back out, it's like a long shot of her. She turns around, walks away down the hallway, all while the title card goes on, while she's like in the center of it. Oh, it's so good. It's probably gonna be the thumbnail.
I think that would be a great thumbnail. And one final note about the OP, I love how it ends with a guitar hitting the ground, or rather about to hit the ground, but it cuts right before it does. I don't know why I like it so much. It's just a really good punctuation to the entire thing.
It's good editing. I like how the start of the opening just goes in on it cuts in from the space to Bocchi's house into her closet, and then all of reality just like floats away as she's floating in a black void, all while like the kind of twangy, almost a distant opening to like the song plays. It goes da 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 da. It's very good. It's very well edited, well directed. And it's so hard for me to pick a favorite between it and
for
Kickback.
me, it's an easy decision. Seishun Complex.
I love the song.
I
of
prefer
Kickback
the
so
song
much.
for this, and I prefer the visuals. Like, it's literally no contest.
All right. Here's the tiebreaker. I bought the full versions of both songs. I'm gonna give the edge to Seishun Complex, if only because the full version of Seishun is better than the full version of Kickback. I was slightly disappointed by the structure of Kickback's full version.
I think that's a fair way to break the tie. And I think that's also a fair way to break away from the section about the OP to talk about more quotes.
I was actually just gonna bring up the endings real quick because there's more than one.
Oh yeah, they do have so far 2 endings, and I know there's a third one, which we have yet to see.
I'm a big fan of the first one. I will say not so big on the second one. Like that is literally my one criticism of the show. That doesn't really matter at all. The second AED is not impressive to me.
I like the animation style for both EDs, but neither
Oh yeah,
of the songs.
yeah. The style
have
and the
stuck-
animation on them are great.
Neither of the songs have stuck with me.
I love the Distortion. I love the first one.
I don't even remember anything about Distortion. I think I listened to it once, then skipped through it every other time.
Yeah, that's great. The one where Kita's saying like distortion, it's motion, haji ba da 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 distortion.
Yeah, I don't even remember anything
it's-
about it.
It's so good. I love in the credits all the girls are jamming out, playing their instruments. I especially love Rio having that smug look on her face, just like playing like shaking her head side to side. It's very good, very cute.
And then the second ED, actually, the first time I heard it, I thought for a second that it'd be the song that Bocchi wrote, because that was the only reason I could think of that as to why the show would have multiple EDs. But no, it just has more of them, which I will not object to. I like the shot of her walking under the umbrella and then running out into the streets with the little streaks going by in the second ending. Don't remember anything about the song.
Yeah, the song is the most forgettable. Oh, by the way, quick, while we're talking about the music, big fucking shout out to CloverWorks and the production committee behind the show for being smart enough to be like, hey, what if we were to release the music from this show simultaneously and also like label it under Keisoku Band?
That's a pretty big G move.
That's a massive W. Even the songs that were in the show, the insert songs by the characters, the fucking episode 6 song. No, not 6. 5. Yeah, 5 is when they have the audition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the episode 5 song, Guitar, Loneliness, and the Blue Planet. That is available on iTunes right now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, like the songs in the show are available, not just the opening and the ending.
All right, but I'm not sure if you know this, but do you know if the songs are like, okay, are there like multiple versions of it depending on how good they are, or is it just like the like studio produced very clean version? Because in the show they make a point to be like, oh, you're playing, so you're going too ham on the drums, Nishika.
I would have to listen to them side by side. Because I've only seen the scene from the show once, and then listened to the song on iTunes once. I'd have to like directly go back to back. From the sound of it, it sounds like it's the same.
Because I know they play the song again. I know this show has gone far enough to where they perform again. I think it's episode 8, and
yeah, like I was thinking about like should we break away from tradition and include episode 8 in this block, because I've heard episode 8 is like the most I've heard people talk about the show, and like this is where the show like pops the fuck off.
I'm very excited to know how this show pops off. But our final podcast on the show would just be have very little in comparison if we did that. But
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I've heard that they're like noticeably better in that concert.
Yeah, and there's a big Kino Bocchi moment where Kino also gets a big Kino Bocchi moment where she like the scene where she's playing in the audition and playing her fucking heart out, all punctuated with that stamp of her foot on the stage, and the camera work is so impressive.
Yeah, I guess now that we're on about the audition scene, it is
Well,
okay.
we'll end the podcast with quotes, because that like the end of the podcast is just gonna be us gushing about like the writing.
All right, I guess that's fair to do. The audition scene is rotoscoped. It looks good. It looks great, even.
It's so great, in fact, that CloverWorks are doing what Sunrise and Mappa don't have the balls to do: have good CG band performances.
Okay, so you said there's CG. Where?
I think they're
literally where?
Exactly. I may be wrong, but I noticed like just a couple times where like I think it was on Rio and Nijika specifically, where like their heads are turning and like I could have sworn I could see like the for lack of a better term, the bulginess of a 3D model
Here, I'm going
like
back
on their
to the
hands and
concert
definitely
or
on
the
their
audition
hands.
scene because
Def-
I thought it was like all
I noticed that like
but it
it is. I feel like they're doing some god tier compositing and some like animating over and like putting the rotoscoping over it to mask it.
I'm looking at it. It just looks rotoscoped to me.
Like,
I do not see even an out.
I was gonna say, like, pay attention to that. I could have sworn I saw some 3D some shape and hands, some non-flat fingers on Rio's bass.
It could have
But
been
regardless,
CG.
even if there's no CG
now
at
that I'm
all,
looking at it, maybe, but it's
even
like,
if there's none, or even there could have been none, even if there were, it's some of the best that I've ever seen.
like, even if it is CG, it literally is so well done that
Who could not even tell.
like the fact that we're even having this discussion is the proof that it's good.
I want to extend this to like just talking about CloverWorks going off on this as a whole. It is insane. Like we gotta give the shout out to the staff. Forgive the clicking noises you will now hear in the background, but I gotta point out the director's name and the art director's name again because they deserve all of the fucking credit in the multiverse.
They absolutely
Keiichiro
do.
Saito.
I'm very glad that,
and I believe this was his debut directorial work. I believe we said that in the podcast earlier in the season.
yeah, there are 2 directors on it. So here, Bocchi the Rock. So Keiichiro Saito and Yusuke Yamamoto. Assistant director, director and assistant director respectively. And first of all, I'm glad that CloverWorks let them do that in the first place. And something I want to point out actually in regards to the animation quality. Right? So it definitely doesn't hit the highs of like Dress Up Darling episodes 1 and 2, which just have so much, all the frames of animation even possible to have in a show. But it's honestly, it's so much more consistent than Dress Up Darling. Every so often, there'll just be this random scene that just looks really, really good. Like, the one that comes to mind is the scene of Nijika and Bocchi talking at the vending machine, where Nijika waves goodbye and then runs off, and it's just super well
So
animated
good.
for no reason other than, hey, good animation.
Bocchi the Kino. I looked up who the art director is. Name is Yasunao Moriyasu, who is also the art director for Horimiya and Akibi-chan's Sailor Uniform. So this guy's on the ball.
Sounds like one of the best workers at CloverWorks.
He's those are his like. He was also the art director on the Pokemon The Origin special from nearly 10 years ago. He was also an art director on a Love Live movie in 2015. So he's got some music related show experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then once again, we gotta give the shout out to Kiyoki Rikuta, the character designer and chief animation director. He's going ham as well. We already praised him for literally making the best scene in or the hottest scene in anime history.
Oh yeah, he was the one behind the Dress Up Darling episode 11, wasn't he?
Yeah, the love hotel scene, which has more sexual tension than most porn do. And this show has fucking animation and art direction coming out of its ears.
This does make me interested in sort of like, I want to track the people who made the show like this just through their careers, because I just want to see where they
like,
got this wacky
purely out of like, yeah, like what did they start it with Bocchi, or have they always been this
wacky,
wacky and they just been flying under the radar this whole time?
Their past work just very subtly there, and you'd be able to, you know, sort of see where some of the small things that other shows just exploded in Bocchi. At least that's my theory, based on having not seen most of their back catalog.
Dude, speaking of the character designs, like this show is so fucking incredible that even the background characters look like they could be like characters in another show that's like better than it deserves to be.
Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to the background characters.
You didn't notice like all like the even like the girls who showed up to the street performance that Bocchi and Kikuri, my mistake, I called her Kikuri this whole time. Her name's actually Kikuri.
I mean, I feel like I turned off my brain in that sense, because it's even though you say that, you can still tell who's the main character because they'll have colored hair.
Well, yeah, I mean, there were some background characters with
There
colored
were?
hair, like that showed up at the club. I'm thinking of this one girl, this one customer who ordered a drink from Bocchi at the club,
I need to go back
who
and look
had
at
like
that girl.
purplish hair, I believe. And it was just it's what got me to be like, wow, like even the background characters are fucking like detailed and well designed, just to lend the sense of authenticity of the show, and character designs that would clear all the John Every animes that would be like the main characters of these like of light novel trash.
Oh yeah, nothing in this show is even close to that level of.
We have fuck man, we
with-
haven't even mentioned the assistant goth girl
Okay,
who works with the
Okay,
manager.
hold on. I'm looking at the girl you're talking about. Here. She just has black hair. Although she is well designed. I'll give you that. I do like her character design, but yeah, she just has black hair. She has purple eyes, though.
Okay, that's the purple I was thinking of. And then we have the goth girl with the piercings and like the two-toned hair. And then the one part where she like just smells Kita's hair and compliments her on her shampoo, and it's like I wrote down, it's not fair. I want to have my hair snipped by a punk goth girl. It should have been me.
I love their designs too. The character design work in this show is very good. Not the bestest out there, but I like it. They're all very consistently quality.
I adore it. It's more anime and less grounded than, you know, your K-ons and maybe even your Chainsaw Men, but it's poppy, it's colorful, and I adore it. I love the big eyes. I love how everyone's got one color for their hair, and like they've all got the candy colored hair, but it's all like colors that match with their outfits. I love Rio's blue and black color scheme brought out with her yellow eyes.
Okay, so I want to transition for a second to ask you, what the fuck was the scene in episode 7 where Bocchi turns to ash and then Nijika and Kita inhale the ash and basically turn into Bocchi? What was that supposed to represent? Because I've heard from a friend that this is apparently a reference to something. I don't know what, he didn't know what, he had just heard from people that it was somehow a reference to something. I want to know where this comes from, because I legitimately do not know how to even like what did it mean?
I don't know. I thought it was all non-diegetic, and that
okay, this is one of my admittedly very small but still one of my problems with the show. It's minor, but this scene, it feels like, okay, so it goes completely off the rails, right?
Yeah, she fucking dies.
Yeah.
And then they die too.
Obviously, it didn't literally happen, but it's like, what does it mean? It's not a dream sequence. Like, the only interpretation I have is that Bocchi just became so depressed that, like, it rubbed off on them, and that's the show portraying it. But it's very difficult to know what's going on during this scene in the actual, like, canon of the show. And I feel like it's a little too difficult. So even though the scene is funny, it's still a bit of a, well, what does that mean? Hold on. They didn't literally die, did they?
I cannot. Well, obviously they didn't die because
Yeah,
it'd
they're
be weird
fine
if
in the
our
next scene.
yeah. Then like it's all for the sake of a telling a good joke and Bocchi like fucking disintegrating from putting on actual clothes and having her forehead exposed by having her bangs brushed to the side is funny by itself is already funny by itself, but having her friends choked to death on her ashes and also being brought down by the negative vibe that she gives out, all while Nijika sends out a final text to Ryo being like, you're gonna have to do the concert by yourself.
This feels like something that would happen in regular show. Except in regular show, it would be within the canon of the show.
There's it's just the best. All the times that Bocchi just withdraws within herself and like imagines all of like her wallowing in her self-pity when they gotta represent it with shit like they got a whole ass zoetrope made for this show, bruh. Like how can you not pay this show the utmost respect?
Yeah. I feel like I'm running out of things to say.
We are drawing near to the conclusion.
Oh, I just remembered one more small issue I have with the show. Alright, so overall, art direction, animation, impeccable. But there are a few scenes. See, I'm attuned to this because I did that whole thing where I went through Tomozaki looking for like all the real life images because I knew the show had some. And I couldn't help but notice that sometimes the background would be taken from real life, and I didn't really know how it benefited the scene. Like the Law Chick Cafe, for example, that's just a photo from real life.
I was kind of a fan. The show is already so mixed media that just having them pull shots from real life to just go to. I'm a fan.
See, I feel like stuff with like the dam scene to show her throwing up, or when the balloon.
Yeah, we forgot about the fucking dam scene.
When the balloon pops with the text identity on it.
Yeah.
That's like very obviously. Yeah, that's very obviously a stylistic thing and does benefit the show. But I feel like if you want to do a mixed media approach, you need to make it feel very intentional. And to me, the cafe sort of felt like it was trying to not seem like a real picture. Where it's like, in my ideal mixed media show, it is very blatantly obvious that that is a real cafe. It completely clashes with everything else. And like the joke is that it's super fancy, so it's depicted as like a real life image as opposed to all the cartoony anime shenanigans because it's just that fancy and the show plays into it as hard as possible. That would be what sold
I mean,
best.
like fuck, man. Let's count all of the different animation mediums they use. They use fucking like traditional. They use cardboard cutouts. They use like just real life objects. They use VR chat. They use pixel art.
They use claymation in one scene.
Yeah, zoetrope.
What
and
is
then
zoetrope?
and this just
I don't actually know what zoetrope is.
It was during that one thing with the sports festival where it was like the I think it's the thing you were referring to as stop motion, where it was just like all those guys and Bocchi in a circle running around while the wheel was spinning.
I know
That's
the scene. I just don't know what zoetrope is. Oh,
that's what a zoetrope is.
Now I see the picture. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So having all that, like, you, and even if I may, I don't know, you may call this bootlicking. I don't give a shit. If they have to use real life pictures for background art in order to go off on the animation as creatively and often as they do, because they don't just pull one of these stunts like once an episode. There are several in an episode.
Yeah, it's very consistently creative. Even the normal facial expressions, like I said, very addicting to watch.
It gives me pleasant memories of Chowder and the Amazing World of Gumball, and reminds me a whole bunch of Kamikaze Doga. Like I now want to imagine the world like. As much heresy as this would be to say, after I've been sucking the dick of CloverWorks this whole time and throughout the entire year, basically, I just imagine the parallel universe where Kamikaze Doga got their hands on the show and went all like full Pop Team Epic Gallon Dino style on it.
On the subject of real life images, it isn't just the cafe. I did notice it pretty consistently. I know I have a few notes written down of all the different scenes. Well, not all of them, because I got bored of writing it. But
Speaking of settings, can we agree that the club setting is like one of the coolest settings for a slice of life in the longest time?
I like it, but I wasn't like super head over heels with it. It's a cool locale, don't get me wrong. But honestly, hot take.
It's a nightclub.
I kinda don't like how episode 2 entirely takes place there. Like, sure, I know it's setting it up, but at the same time,
me when I'm making an anime and Crunchy Bagels is talking about how it all takes place in a single room.
Yeah. I know I'm a Monogatari fan, so I know I'm a hypocrite for complaining about this, but it feels, I feel like the first conversation could have taken place outside, when they're rolling the dice and all that. It could have. You could have added more backgrounds, but it's a minor thing. It's not nearly as bad as Dress Up Darling episode 2, because at least they're talking about different things, as opposed to the entire episode just being about boobs.
The thing about the club locale that sticks out to me so much is that it reminds me so much of a gaming themed pub that's a bit of a drive away from me. It's like 30 minutes away, but it's like one of the coolest locations in around my place. It's called the Geek Easy, and it's like this neon lit bar that also has a soundstage. They have open mic karaoke and they regularly host bands. It literally is like the Starry Club equivalent of my area, and like that's why it's so resonant to me, because I've been there a few times. I've never seen any bands play, but I've gone to some open mic karaoke. I went there for my 21st birthday, so that place has means a lot to me. And I would like to go there more. I need. It's just so far a drive away from me, and I have an arcade slash bar, a barcade rather, that's so close. That's so much closer. It's only half the drive. It's right next to where my friends live. That's like, I love the Geek Easy, but this barcade is just right next to me. It's so much more convenient.
Well, if it's anything close to as cool as Starry, I'm sure I would like to go there. And it's a fun place.
It's so fucking cool. They got drawings of like anime and video game and pop culture characters on the walls in chalk.
Now this place is heaven.
And it's all it's all glow in the dark too. So with the neon lighting, like black lights light it up. So with all these cool colors.
Okay, now I want to go there.
They have Tekken Tag Tournament 1, I believe. Tekken Tag 1 on an arcade cabinet there. That's how cool they are. This man does not play many video games.
No, I don't.
Honestly, I feel like we can wrap up the podcast just by gushing and going over our favorite quotes, because I took fucking 800 words worth of notes, and I'll be damned if I didn't.
Okay, 800. All right, hold on. You think you're the Bocchi fan of this podcast? You think you are? You think you are? I have 1,111. That wasn't even intentional words on this Google Doc.
The only reason that I like stopped writing quotes was because be like, all right, well if I wrote nothing but quotes, then that made me laugh or that I enjoyed, this would take up like 20 pages.
You'd basically be writing the show again.
We'll go back and forth one after the other, giving our favorite quotes.
Well, I'm already through most of my quotes.
All right, well, I've still got some moments too, so. Here's a great one. Bocchi being like, if I finally was able to talk to customers, I feel like I've grown as a person. And Ichika's like, oh yeah, you've really taken a step today, Bocchi. And she's like, wait, a step? I felt like I took 1,000 steps.
I definitely loved that one. Another infamous moment. This was all over Twitter. The happiness spiral. Where I can't believe they got away with this, but whatever her name says, kids try this at home as it's on screen.
Yeah, they break the fourth wall several times, especially They do it the most in episode 7 where Nijika's like, "Oh, look, Bocchi time ran through the entire commercial break."
Oh yeah, I also loved that moment, but just want to shout out the happiness spiral. It starts with unable to think about anything but alcohol. Then it goes to I'm out of alcohol. The alcohol is gone, so gotta get booze. Then starts drinking it. Craving is temporarily satisfied, and then it loops back in on itself.
I like to imagine that if Digibro was still watching anime, this would be like their favorite character. They would be like, "Not, I have never related to anything more in an anime
Oh
than
yeah,
this
Digi would
exact moment.
absolutely
This
relate to this.
diagram is everything." I love when Bocchi asks Kita to join her band. She tries to like get the words out, but they come out as just like the first syllables, and it sounds like beatboxing to her. To which Kita awkwardly beatboxes back to her. So cute. So good.
So episode 6 of Bocchi did something that I think all shows should do whenever a character is recapping something that the viewer already knows about. Instead of either showing it or just cutting it, instead have them say lorem ipsum, and I think he goes like lorem ipsum, whatever, yada yada, or something like that, and it just like fast, like with the fast forward noises in the background, and then it hard cuts to the alcoholic crying.
So good. I love Bocchi. Much like to bring it back to Chainsaw Man one more time. If I had a nickel for every time the main character of an anime from this season woofed despite not being a dog to show their subservience, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? The fucking the mop tops and the suits.
That was great. I think I'm out of literal quotes, but I can probably come up with things on this. Nishika wore a beret in one scene. That's all. Best show of the year. Anytime an anime girl wears a beret, it instantly becomes a 10 out of 10.
I love how Bocchi we already touched on the dam scene before, but we gotta pay it its due respect. I love how it's just like Bocchi is like, I'm exhausted. Thank you for the audition. Now, if you'll excuse me, and then just cuts to all the videos of these dams with like the text over them to tell you which ones they are.
And
the godlike comedic timing and tone shift. I cannot praise the show enough on that.
And let's see. Oh, I love how when the cops are approaching Bocchi and the alcoholic after playing, Bocchi's face literally begins to fall off piece by piece because she's so startled.
But Bocchi has a lot of derealization moments. I love every time like she's confused or nervous, she'll just like become less and less detailed to the point where she's just like simple shapes and colors. Like when after Nijika storms out after her sister, the manager of the club, says, "Nope, you can't play." She just like goes from her like base detail model to just be like to just like, a couple of blobs. And animating at like 3 frames
I
a
can't
second.
believe we have. Well, okay, we mentioned it in passing, but I guess we'll give it its due respect here once again. Bocchi basically acting out being a popular person, turning into a party animal, and her family just watches her from the background thinking she's possessed.
We can call an exorcist. Speaking of her parents, I love that they're so used to her being friendless that they just like assume that her friends that she was talking about was all imaginary and she was just lying about getting the job. And then she's like, "Are you sure that you guys aren't like friend rentals? Like you're not from the rent a girlfriend service, but for friends?" And then Bocchi's just like, "As much as I'm upset by my parents' low expectations for me, I can't say that it doesn't sound like something I would do."
They even think like Bocchi bought like 100 copies of the picture they took for the promotion, and
digital photo editing's been getting pretty advanced recently.
Her parents literally think she photoshopped them in.
I love when they're designing the shirts for their band. Rio just sends in designs of like she got like stock photos of people in blank shirts and then sent JPEGs of food over them and then was like, "Hey, what should I get for dinner?"
And on that note, Bocchi's shirt is just like the weirdest yet oddly practical shirt of all time, with just a bunch of different zipper pockets and a chain to hold her guitar.
I love how Kita and by extension the show itself are calling out all edgy middle school boys with this shirt font ad hominem. It's everything about this show, the writing, the animation, the direction, the editing, the comedy, the heartfelt moments. It's real, it's inventive, it's creative, and above all else, it is great.
Yeah, I'd definitely say it's great. In terms of number scores, it's still hard to decide. I think I'm leaning towards an 8 right now.
Okay, what is holding you back from even a 9?
Like I said, I just want to get more attached to the characters, which, to be fair, I think it could very easily happen. Like, for example, I thought Call of the Night was an 8 until the second half, and that was primarily due to A, Onko's introduction, and B, me getting more attached to the characters. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Bocchi to clear Call of the Night.
I have a strong suspicion. I'd bet money that you are going to maybe it's too far gone for the masterpiece status, but you're gonna get on the Bocchi train almost as hard as I am. I would not be surprised if it turned into a 9 out of 10 by the end of the series.
It definitely wouldn't shock me, but I will say, Call of the Night's so my thing that it feels a bit hard for it to pass, but then again, Bocchi's a slice of life, so, you know, it's already got an edge on the rest of the competition.
And if you want to get an edge on the rest of following our podcast and being the first to watch them, go ahead and head on down to the comments. Let us know what you think of Bocchi the Rock. Is it a masterpiece? Is it overrated? Let us know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, go check out Crunchy's channel and his new video on Shaft and Monogatari that just came out. That is, I've got nothing left to say. Do you?
Not really.
Well, I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Scorched Toast.
This has been this episode of Castaway Anime. Bocchi Gang out.
I bid thee adieu.